And welcome back to the Full Advisor Coaching Podcast with Kristin Herod. Kristin, it's summer. It's like time to kick back. It's time to take it easy now.
It's almost summer. We're, past Memorial Day. I guess technically not quite there until the 21st, I want to say. But
the 21st, I guess, if you really want to be technical about it.
People could still be listening to this then.
It's summer.
Yeah.
All right, come on.
Yeah, exactly. So, exciting. And happy to have you, Bill, my on-air thought partner. Good to have you with me, too.
I wouldn't miss it for the world. I love being with you, and I love hearing what you have to say. And I really like this one. I mean, you and I were talking about this episode before we got started. Summertime, as we both know, is the time when just traditionally we all kick back, relax, and enjoy our hard work for a few months,
But we shouldn't overlook how important it is to have that space to reset.
Yes.
And I think we need to do a bit of an improv yes and instead of a no but. So let's say yes and.
Yes and.
Yes, there is plenty of time to kick back and relax.
Yeah.
And it gives you space to be able to step back, take a bigger picture view.
Yes.
Get a look at what you want, what you've learned from the year so far, what you want moving forward, what you want to change, what you want to keep, all of these different great resets. So I think, the fact that almost half the year is gone now, if you're listening to this like on schedule and not later, at any point, and, you can say, all right, I need a reset. And the thing about June is it's a good time to check, look back and check in on those January goals, because you probably got lost in like the flurry of the, beginning of the year, of the tax season, of whatever your meetings with clients, whether you do surge meetings or not surge meetings, or whatever your approach is on how you meet with clients. First quarter tends to be quite busy. How are you tracking against those goals you set? I know you set growth goals, but have you had a chance to check in on them? Have you looked to say, okay, we're getting to where we want to be. We're on track. We're ahead. We're behind. Where are you in that? And unfortunately, what we've seen is, people get really busy with clients, and, this year markets up and down all over the place, lots happening in the world. People, they get distracted by clients getting worried, or what should we be doing? And then they don't necessarily focus on the growths. Maybe the proactive business development, the proactive marketing starts to fall to the side. So,
and I think you're right too, because I've worked with a lot of financial advisors, and I know that really and truly, when we get to June, a lot of people feel like it's their time to take a breather. It's their time to kick back. There is a natural sort of, we're going to slow down now. And I like the point that you were making is, yes, you can kick back. You can take it slow, but don't forget your goals. Don't forget to take an assessment of what you're doing, and are you doing it well? It's a great time to do it without feeling stressed out of your mind.
Yes. And we have about 90 days between like mid-June and Labor Day.
Yeah.
You can count that out if you want. It may not be exactly accurate, but it's roughly a 90-day period, which is a great amount of time to use that time for your bigger picture business planning, right? For the, really stepping into your leadership role and taking a look and saying, all right, how am I know the fall, after we get back to school, or, get past September, gets really busy again, and more clients are more likely to reach out then, and people are more likely to want to find help in this arena then. How is it that we can use the summer so that we're not just coasting along and then being like, okay, September, time to start again? Meanwhile, if we plan ahead, and today we're going to go through a few questions to ask yourself, you'll be able to plan ahead, use the summer, hit the fall with momentum,
Yeah.
just a natural outtake of like, yeah, I knew this was coming. I've prepped for it. And wow, don't I feel good? So,
Exactly.
and let me just say, I've done both. I've done it's slow.
Mm.
Let me do the slow over the summer. And I've done
Yeah, well,
hey, it's
yeah.
slow. Let me take the time to do some, really focus on the business planning and some advanced planning and getting things ready and off my plate now so I'm not stressed later. And I'll tell you, the latter feels a whole lot better than the former.
I bet it
So,
does.
hey there, it's Kristin. Quick break. If you're enjoying the show and you want more, head on over to fulladvisorcoaching.com/resources. You can download the toolkits that I have there and join the free insider community. You'll be the first to hear about new trainings, fresh podcast episodes, and I share with you real-world strategies that I see working for advisors right now. That's fulladvisorcoaching.com/resources. Go sign up. It's completely free. And now back to the show.
So where do we start in terms of getting ourselves ready and evaluating what we're doing? How do we start on this?
Yeah. Well, let's do I invite everyone to do an honest check-in, and it's not again, not an evaluation. It's not a grade. You're not giving yourself a grade per se. It's just like, let's check in, right? Mm-hmm. I've outlined 5 questions. So I think let's walk through it and, ask everyone to just reflect and think carefully about what you want over the next 90 days.
Yeah.
I'll let you reveal the question, Bill.
Oh, well, okay, because the first one I think is really great because you get at a point here I think it's really important. You need to ask yourself, are we actually growing or are we just busy?
Yes. Actually growing or busy. This one's good. This one ties back to the sort of interplay of marketing and business development and client service. It's across the whole ecosystem. There's certainly a difference between having a full calendar with lots going on and a growing firm. They may or may not be the same thing. Has your revenue, you may say, hey, we've been growing. This is great. But is it because the markets have gone up? Is it because you brought in new assets? What's the difference? If it's just because the market's going up, that's just, the rising tide lifts all, which is great. We're not going to put that aside. But we also know that it's time to take a look and say, how many net new clients do we have? Or how much net new revenue do we have? That's your best markers. Say, okay, net new revenue, because that could come from current clients. It could come from new clients. How much have you added this year? And you can take a look and say, how many prospect meetings are your advisors having? What % of those are converting? And if you don't know those numbers, this is the time to sit back and take a look and say, okay, how can we go back and evaluate and take a look at that? And if we don't have all that information, which you should have it because it's around there somewhere, it just may take some work to get to it. You can start with what is a process for moving forward so that I can be sure to check in on that. So just know with reality where you are today. And I think that net new revenue number is going to give you one of your clearest indicators of growth.
Yeah, no, I like that because implicit in part of that answer leads us into question 2 because this happens in personal lives as well as professional lives. We get busy. We're doing busy work, and the busy work disguises the fact that at a lot of firms, you may look around and see that your advisors look busy, but you've got to ask yourself, are my advisors developing business or are they busy just servicing existing clients?
Yeah, that's great. That's question number 2. And you can't help it. It's a service business, right?
Right.
So most
Okay.
advisors are going to default to servicing clients because it's, it feels productive, it's comfortable, and frankly, clients, pay you to provide a service.
Of course, yeah.
And it's a question of keeping everything in check and making sure you balance out your work. And if you're not doing proactive business development, and that's part of your advisor's role, whether they need to be, having those meetings with clients and asking for referrals, following up with prospects, meeting with centers of influence, getting out in the community and meeting people. The issue is if you're only servicing clients, you're not filling the pipeline.
Right.
And the big thing about this business is there's a lag, right? From when you start a business development conversation, whether it's, even meeting with a prospect or having, a referral come in, there can be a lag of, say, 6 months. That's very common between the time when someone becomes aware of your business, of your service, and they actually take an action. This is seen over and over again, which is why it's so important to have a list and nurture a list and be able to share content regularly over time and have your follow-up process that we've talked about kind of ad nauseum because it's so important. It's not, again, I say it all the time, we're not selling shoes, we're selling a service. It takes time. People are uncomfortable. They don't know how to hire a financial advisor. It takes time. And we have an episode with Nancy Noel, who we'll link to in the show notes, where we talk about how to hire a financial advisor, because people aren't used to it. Not how to hire, but how to communicate hiring a financial advisor, because people don't know how, and so you have to make it easy for them. And so, kind of as a firm leader, if you're looking at this and saying, okay, maybe my advisors aren't hitting what I want them to be doing, it's on you. Have you set clear expectations for your team? And if you haven't, the summer's a great time to fix that. That's something that you can have those conversations. You can start to set expectation and begin to find out from their advisors what's getting in the way, where do they need help, how can you enable them in a different way.
Well, you also had a great series of episodes, but I can't remember what episode it was number-wise, where you talked about business development, and you recognize that not everybody in a firm is as good at business development as some of the people, but it's important to set that goal and make sure people understand you need to be engaged not only in servicing the clients, but also reaching out and engaging in some form of business development. And unless you as a leader of the firm are doing that, it's not going to just magically happen.
Right, exactly. And so we have a number of episodes on that, including one with Kelly Cruz, where we talked about how to tie that back to compensation, and also just how to set expectation and activities and tie it all together. So again, we'll put that in the show notes, but this is your time to take a look and say, all right, where is my team and where do we want to go?
Yeah.
And that does, I'll take number 3 here, because I do know that it ultimately goes back to the third question, which is our marketing connected to anything?
Correct.
So again, these all kind of are flowing together, because if you're just busy and out there and doing things, if your advisor or servicing clients and not necessarily developing business, it may be also that you're out there posting on social media, publishing a newsletter. Maybe you have a podcast or you're doing videos, but have you connected the dots back to a business development strategy? Does the marketing talk to business development? Are they together? Is there a path from content to prospect meeting. That is one of the biggest things. It's how is it that people know how to engage you? How do they hire you?
Right.
You have to connect the dots from them. And a lot of times marketing gets kind of siloed. Like, hey, we'll do some content and we'll put it out there. And one advisor might post about one thing and one advisor might talk about something else. And they're active, but there's not a strategy. And we, not too long ago, did those episodes on personal branding, number 53, and then the one on the content engine, which is probably the most relevant, 55. This is a theme that comes up again and again. So if your marketing doesn't feel connected, this is another chance to be able to take a step back and look and say, what do we need to do to bridge that gap between creating awareness and developing intent and generating interest where people schedule meetings with us. So that's question number 3.
Right. And if you know the answer to question 3, you probably know the answer to question 4, which is, do I have a pipeline? Do we have a pipeline? Or are we just waiting for the phone to ring, which is intertwined with everything you were just talking about?
Yes, exactly. So if you're kind of waiting on hope, and I hear this a lot because they're like, oh, my business grows on referral, which I love that because that means you provide great service and people come to you. And some people actually have a proactive referral strategy, which is great because that would be very like, hey, we're developing a pipeline. We know what's coming. We have a sense of what might come down. They're not just waiting to be like, surely we will get some referrals because we always do. That's the reactive strategy, like sitting and looking at the phone or the computer, as many people don't call anymore. But, we want to have a pipeline, which means that you know exactly who the people are that you're actively in conversation with. You can name them. You can look at a list, and I've talked about having these meetings with your team where every week everyone runs through, this is who I'm talking to. This is what the next step is. This is where they are in the process. And so each person that's in the pipeline. A pipeline means you can name the people and you know what the next step is. So if you can't go, hey, Bill, what's your pipeline look like?
Yeah.
And if you can't answer that like pretty quickly, then you probably don't have one. So, and that's okay, right? I mean, I'll tell you, I kind of, it almost to a fault, kind of wake up and think, okay, who are the people, who are the clients I'm servicing today? Who are the clients in my, purview right now that I'm working with? Who are the, prospects that I'm waiting to hear back from? What are the opportunities I am seeking? And it kind of plays in the background, which can be productive or not, but I'm aware. Like you ask me at any point, I'll be able to be like, yes, this is who's in there. This is the next step. This is where I'm going. And I love when firms get there because it becomes so intentional. So again, it's okay if you haven't done that, but now you have the summer. Let's take the time to build a pipeline, get the process ready, start keeping track of those things. And I do recommend if listeners want to learn more about this, they can go to episode 49, where we did the piece I think you had mentioned a little earlier.
Yes.
Where to start with business development. And that's all about what is the process to identify your pipeline? I think I covered about 8 different ways to look at the pipeline and add names to the list. But it's really important to get down to the level of name or organization and person within organization so that you know exactly who you're following up with. So this is another area that summer is a great time to kind of get that going again, or started if you've never done it before.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think it's also a good time to reflect on this next question too, which may be difficult because it does challenge leaders personally, because the question is, am I spending my time where it matters the most? Am I being smart with what I do and what I'm focused on?
Yes. And this kind of is the purpose of this whole episode, is to really say, how can I use this time this summer to my best advantage, whether, while also rejuvenating and recharging. Obviously when you're leading a firm, your time is valuable. It's the most limited resource we all have, right?
Yep.
We all get what we get, right? And so do you spend more of it on growth and leadership and the things that you personally, you're the only one who can do them? Or are you caught up in operations and compliance and, posting on social media or other tasks that people can handle for you? And this is a great time. Summer's a great time to audit your calendar.
Ooh.
You can do a backwards look if you want, and then say, okay, this is where my time was, where I spent my time, say, over the last 90 days. You may or may not have an accurate reflection of that because you may or may not have written everything down. Mm-hmm. But now you can start tracking, where is my time actually going? Take a look, literally half hour by half hour for a few weeks and say, where's my time going? And then look and go, okay, what do I want to be doing with my time? And how do I free up some of those tasks? And I don't know if you remember, Bill, I think it was like episode 7, way back early in the queue, because this is so important. It was one of my first topics I talked about, where it was about tracking and evaluating your time and in the context of productivity. And it's something that I force myself to do probably about 2 or 3 times a year, even though it's tedious. To write down, in half-hour increments, this is where I spent my time, this is what I did, or I just spent 15 minutes scrolling through LinkedIn, okay, and all of those things. But it always illuminates something new where I can go, I need to ship this or bundle that or put this on, on the same day as another day, or I need my client meetings to be on Tuesdays or whatever it might be.
Right.
I think it's a really good time. And then also to build in, as a leader, build in ongoing rejuvenation. Obviously, anyone who teaches productivity says, put your vacations on the calendar first. That's kind of, straightforward on that way. Like, put your vacations down first. And then if you're like, you know what, I actually want to do half day Fridays 2 times a month, all year round. So I'm not relying on summer to fully rejuvenate. This is a time where you can just take a look, audit, and then make some proactive decisions.
No, I think that's great. And I think that probably hints at why the summer window is what your most opportune time in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And it makes sense because clients are on vacation, things slow down, and it just feels like you have permission to coast along like that. I think what's really helpful is that you get the space, right? You can either use it or lose it. And I think, one of the things I like to think about, I love football, and
Yep.
I love, go Birds. So big Eagles fan, right? So it's kind of like the NFL preseason in football. The games are in the fall, but they're training in the sure. Sure. Coaches are building the playbooks. They're looking at the films. They're doing all that stuff. The team's getting ready, but they have to perform in that fourth quarter, right? Yep. And then hopefully in January and February, if they've done well. But it's like that. And so we really want to, take a look at the summer and say, all right, great. What can we do? And so along the playbook kind of line of questioning, it's like, what should advisors do between now and Labor Day? We've gone through the questions. We've asked people to review that. You don't have to solve all of your problems in that short period of time, right? But pick 2 or 3 that could address kind of the biggest gaps that you have once you've done this check-in. A few of the things I would definitely put on the list are, have the conversation with your team around growth, right? If you've looked at where you if you've looked at where you've come from, so it's June, you've looked back across the year, sit down with your advisors, whether you do it individually or as a group. It all depends on how big your firm is. And talk about the expectations for the second half of the year. Talk about what success looks like. What activity are you asking for? How can you support them? Again, to do this, you have to do the work as the leader to say, what am I going to help you with? What am I going to provide? How will I support you? And then you speak with them and get curious and start to find out, how do they want to do business development? What do they feel good about? And this, I will say, is what kind of prompted me to develop the business development coaching that I do, because leaders benefit from help in this arena, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to have those conversations, especially if you yourself have your own way of developing business, and then you have advisors who are different than you are, and they need a little different motivation or process. That's what we can cover. That's what I cover when I do these, the business development coaching. And so it is looking to say, all right, what are you expecting from your advisors and how can you help? And then how can you build a plan with them? So set the tone for fall. Like they have, you have time to prepare, there's space. No one's trying to do 100 different things in any single day, but you can do that right now and have that conversation.
Yeah, unless you have that conversation, people don't. That's ridiculously, stupidly obvious thing to say. But unless you have the conversation, people don't know what you're thinking. You know,
right.
You've got to sit down and tell your team, hey, this is what I'm thinking. These are my expectations. This is what I want from you. How can I help you? Because we all need, as you I think rightly said, you always benefit from somebody also stepping in, whether that is them as leaders stepping in for their advisors or them as leaders turning to someone outside the firm, someone like yourself who can help set those priorities and say, yeah, we can get this sorted out so that you're doing the right things.
Yeah. And I think importantly, you have to ask the advisors too what they want. What are their goals? What are their motivations? How do they see themselves progressing? So again, whole nother conversation, but it is important to have that. And then go back and look at, I talk frequently on this podcast about the breakdown between marketing and business development. How do we connect the awareness generating, the one-to-many pieces that you're doing out there in terms of marketing, and then the individual efforts of getting business development. Take the summer to audit where your handoffs are breaking down and pick one to fix. So where is it that your marketing's creating opportunities that your business development process isn't catching? So for example, a lot of advisors will, do some sort of event and they break down in, whether they've had like a seminar or a webinar, they have people sign up, but then they break down in the follow-up after the event. That happens, right? And that's really your golden time, right? From the time where someone heard you speak or attended an event, and then you don't follow up frequently enough. Maybe you have leads coming in off your website, but they're going into kind of a general mailbox, and then they're not really handled, or they're overlooked, or the connection's broken, or I see this again, time and time again. Oh, I didn't realize they'd come in. Oh, they didn't get tagged. Oh, that email gets quarantined in our security system. That one's a new one. That one just came up. I'm like, well, we didn't even know that person came in. So, those are the types of things you can look at and say, all right, let me look at that and fix it. Small, but big, right? Like, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize that person came in the queue. Okay. These are problems that fall. And again, I know this episode, we seem to be doing a lot of callbacks to other episodes, but that is part of the audit process, right? Yeah. And maybe some of your summer is spent learning, right? And digging deeper into some of these topics that you and I are talking about today. Episode 22 was how to maximize your lead to client conversion process. And that was breaking down kind of essentially, how do you connect marketing to business development? So that is a super popular episode. That one people keep going back to. So that's one you may want to spend time on if you're like, I'm not sure where the pitfalls are. I need a little help there. Okay, and this next one is hopefully easy and fun. One of my favorite things about the summertime is that you can reach out and have conversations with people, focus on your relationship building because everyone else has slowed down too.
Yeah.
And so everyone's kind of in a little bit more like convivial, kind of like, yeah, let's get together. Let's have a nice time. Let's have a coffee. Let's linger over a lunch. You have time. This is a great time to invest in those centers of influence that you see as more strategic partners. Another call back to the 3-tier referral partner episode we did. This is a great time to start mapping out who are the centers of influence I can reach out to, and set goals for yourself, 1 or 2 a week. It's a great way to invest over the summer because then no one feels pressure, no one feels like they're trying to squeeze it in, and you have a good time to have a conversation. You could also spend a little extra time with a client who would be a great advocate for you. Like maybe you've never asked them, or maybe you want to spend time with them and say, hey, I'm working to expand or grow our business. I know that you have been successful in your career. What do you recommend? What advice can you give me? It's a great way to have just a conversation with someone. There's no motive other than let me learn, let me build the relationship.
I'm interested. I'm interested in what you have to say. Tell me about it.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe you reach out to an old friend who is in your target demographic who doesn't maybe even know what you do for a living, but you're like, I haven't talked to them in a while. Let me reach out. And worst case, you just reconnect with an old friend, right?
Yeah.
But you're practicing your messaging, you're talking about what you do, and you're building another relationship, which really, really important. And it kind of gets back to the loneliness episode we did. My goodness, why? This is like a directory of episodes today.
I know.
But I can't,
but for good
obviously
reason. But for
everything
good reason.
connects, right?
Yes,
Everything
they all
connects.
do.
And I do love puzzles, and I like seeing how all the pieces come together, and it seems to happen when I'm doing a podcast. So, I really do encourage advisors and leaders to pick 3, 4, 5 relationships that you either want to initiate or re-engage over the summer. You have a little more time. You can spend time on lunch or coffee or a phone call, and keep it low pressure. But you'll find, wow, that was really a valuable use of my time. I think this one could be one of the most important things you invest in over the summer because everyone is in kind of a similar mindset and like very open.
Yeah.
So in terms of being available to connect, I think it's really, and I mean available not just from time, but also emotionally available.
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
That makes great sense. Another thing that makes a lot of sense to me too, and you have it noted here, is look at your advisor profiles.
Yeah.
Maybe they need updating.
Exactly. I mean, this is a callback to that personal branding episode where we were like, when we do the audit, do we have the headshots? What are the bios saying? What are these, what does our LinkedIn profiles look like? This is a perfect summer project. Right? You can feel really good about it. You're going to polish up how everyone looks. You're going to get consistency across the firm, and you have time to do it. So perfect window to get in there and execute and say, all right, now we're going to refresh everyone's bio. We're going to make sure they're pulling out some really exciting personal dynamics of each person. And then we're going to redo their LinkedIn profiles. And this is, at least audit them and make the improvements where necessary. Perfect.
So what other things can you do? I mean, is summer a good time to look ahead to the fall and start thinking I'm going to plan my time out now, or do you want to wait till the fall?
Yeah, no, and that's where I think, that's where I think you can get a real jump on the fall, because, I always recommend that that every firm has a content platform that they're regularly publishing to, whether it's a blog or they're doing a podcast or videos, right? No better time to get a jump on that content than the summer. I know that I will be focused on trying to catch up on podcast episodes or plan ahead for podcast episodes over the summer, because you have time. Again, you have time, and it's really fun because you can take a bigger picture view and look out and go, what do we think we want to do in the fall? And do you want to have an event? Great time to start planning if you're going to have a prospect event. We talked about that again, episode 46. We talked about prospect event and why they're so valuable. And, what might you host in Q4? Maybe you don't have time during the year to even think about that. But now that you've lifted your head and you're looking out over the 6-month horizon, you can go, yeah, I think we could make that happen, right? Mm-hmm. And let's commit to that. Again, the kind of thing, if you wait till September to plan September, you're behind, right? So if we can look ahead, and everyone listening has some element of loving to plan because they are financial planners or advisors, right? Yeah. But most of the people are like, there is an element of you love to plan ahead. We have to when you're an advisor and you're looking to the future. This is just bringing it back to be like, what are a few things we can get done now that will make our September, October, November easier? And that gets into, batch creating content. That is my favorite thing to do in the summer. I think you can hold like an internal creators conference where you and any of your featured advisors or employees who want to contribute or are being asked to contribute content can get together and spend time creating content. You'd be surprised how much you can get done in a very short period of time when everyone focuses on it. So whether you're like bringing in a videographer to like do a whole bunch of batch videos, or you're setting up the iPhone with a little green screen in a studio, or you're recording podcast episodes, you can divvy up content. You can just kind of say, we're doing this 3-day creation convention and finish up a ton of content in just a few sessions, because we want to create evergreen content. So it does not matter what time of year it is or what's happening in the markets. You're going to handle those in the one-off things as they pop up later. But this is all about the evergreen content that delivers on the needs and value for your target audience. Mm-hmm. So, if you spent just a few days on this, it'll be less time than you'll spend procrastinating, creating the content later in the year, because you'll be like, I got to do it. I got to do it. I got to do it. And then if you just get it done, I love this idea. And I love when I've been able to see clients implement that, because it's really, everyone feels good knowing it's already in the queue and ready to go.
No. And all of this adds up to a really simple truth, which is that, all of the things you were just talking about really amounts to investing in yourself, investing in the firm, and then investing in yourself during this time period.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's a time to recharge. And some of that can be about learning, right? Attending a conference. There aren't as many conferences in our industry in the summer because people aren't as engaged, but there are some. And maybe there's a peripheral conference, a little different, one that's for your target audience that you could go to. That could make sense. Or maybe there's a class you can take that you can learn something new, meet some new people, do something that challenges your thinking. Maybe you catch up on some of those books you've been meaning to read or go through. Maybe you join one of the peer groups like a Vistage or an entrepreneurs organization or something in your community, but something where you can take care of yourself, feed your growth and your leadership mindset, and look at personal development as well as how can they grow the business? How can they take care of their clients? How can they head in that direction? So I think that is a great use of summertime as well and should not be overlooked.
Absolutely not. Because really, you talked about this at the beginning. If you're doing this in June and July, what you're really doing is you're building momentum coming into the fall so that you're not trying to suddenly go to get to the starting line and get going. You're actually already going.
Right, exactly. I mean, this kind of corny, but it's kind of like you'll get the fall that you want,
right?
Not the one that you get.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Like you get the one you want because you planned ahead, right?
Right.
They're not scrambling. You're not heading into the fall and then Q4 trying to figure out how to connect your marketing, realizing you didn't build the pipeline over the last 6 months. So now what? And then you're hustling around trying to see what can we do to try to get, hit our numbers for the year. And when you have, I just think that the clarity and excitement that comes from knowing that you've invested over the summer in yourself, in your team, in your business, that you're just ready for what's coming in and you're much more open and able to handle the sort of chaos that comes as the holidays kick in and things come in. Even if you don't necessarily realize it, but you've actually, rather than having that like, I had all that time and the guilt of being like, I didn't use it. This is more about being proactive and saying, okay, I'm taking the next 90 days and I'm really going to focus. Yeah. So I'd love, as people are listening to this, pick 2 or 3 things from today and say, these are the things I'm going to do over June, July, August, into early September. I guarantee you'll thank yourself when it's, you're heading into the fourth quarter and you're like, this is great. I feel prepared. I feel ready. I feel invested, and my team does too.
I think that's fantastic. It's great advice, and you to your point, you'd be, I think, amazed at how much better you feel about things because you're like suddenly you're energized. You don't have to get energized. You're already energized.
Yeah, I think it's just like you just have, rather than like these ups and downs, it's a little more paced out and it's exciting. It feels so good. I speak from experience because as I've said, I've done both.
Yep.
And I much prefer the fall, the September, the back to school, when you go, oh, thank goodness I took care of that across that period of time. So, and I do want to put out the invitation that if one of the things you reflect on over your audit for the first half of the year and what you want to create going into the fall involves getting outside marketing help or getting business development coaching help, take the summertime to schedule a call with me.
Yes.
You don't have to hire me. You don't have to make a decision. Just have a call. Click the schedule button. We'll have a conversation and we'll see what you might need help with. It's another great time for you to talk to different providers in the industry because it can give you a chance to do some research and find out and see, is now the right time to get help? Or is it something I don't need yet? So I think that's really, it's another great use of time to sort of pursue vendors or support people in the industry. So it's another great use of time to look at that. And I invite those conversations because I too am looking for relationship building and seeing who else out there I can connect with and utilize my summer as well as you yours. So
I was going to say you're using your summer just like you're advising other people to use their summer.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So if they want to reach out to you, Kristin, how do they get a hold of you, or what's the best way to schedule time with you?
The best way is to go to fulladvisorcoaching.com and click that request a call button in the upper right-hand corner. It'll go straight to my calendar and you can pick a time to meet with me. You can also message me out on LinkedIn. I look on there frequently. And if you prefer, just email me at Kristin@fulladvisorcoaching.com.
And do so. I mean, it just to repeat it because it should be repeated. The conversation's going to cost you nothing. It's going to be informative. You might find yourself talking with Kristin thinking, this is the person I want to work with. I like this. I like the connection we have. She makes a lot of sense, and this is what we want to do. Or you may think, well, this is an interesting conversation for a later date or an interesting relationship for another time. But reach out, have that conversation. I know you feel like you probably talked to her already because that's what these podcasts are about. But it's like, you engage with her one-on-one. And if you're not already a subscriber, hit the follow button and be a subscriber so you can hear more of these conversations. That's what I would encourage you to do. All of which are free.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I highly encourage, I want everyone to enjoy their summer and take the time they need, but also be ready for what's to come, because I know it can be really exciting and fulfilling.
Yeah, and it always ties into the little piece of advice we give people every time we sign off from this podcast, Kristin, which is you can go out today and make today a great day or not. Literally, as we've just been discussing, the choice is yours. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to Full Advisor Coaching, the podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the follow button so you'll never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can become a part of the Full Advisor community, visit fulladvisorcoaching.com. Remember, stay connected and get notified as soon as brand new episodes release. Click the follow button now. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Kristin Harrod or Full Advisor Coaching.